I awoke suddenly in a darkened room. Everything was different. My body was no longer my own. I was somewhere else, inside the mansion, but from a new perspective. Looking at my hands, I saw they were translucent. I was no longer human. Footsteps echoed. A new visitor had entered the mansion. As he passed by the mirror, I watched him stare at his reflection. And then, I smiled at him. I observed him as he moved warily through the room, his eyes darting between the decaying furniture and the shifting shadows lurking in the corners. I struggled to comprehend what had happened to me. Was I a ghost? Or just a trapped memory? The closer he came, the stronger a force inside me grew, pulling me toward him. My heart, if I still had one, raced. I tried to warn him, but my voice was swallowed by the void. I glanced at the mirror again, and now I didn't just see myself. Dozens of faces stared back from within. They were all trapped, suspended between life and death. Fear gripped me once more. Was there any way to escape? To return to my world? Then, the door creaked open suddenly, and an icy wind rushed in. The young man turned quickly, but before he could react, his reflection in the mirror began to shift. I knew what was about to happen. The same fate that had befallen me. I tried to scream, to warn him, but it was too late. A hand emerged from the mirror, clutching him as his body began to fade. Just like me, there was no escape. There was no salvation. And now we were two. The night had settled heavily over the small village, drowning it in an eerie silence broken only by the distant hoots of owls and the whispering wind weaving through the bare trees. Amidst that stillness, I stood before the abandoned mansion, a place shrouded in terrifying legends. They said that whoever entered never returned. The mansion loomed tall despite its decay. Its windows were shattered, its doors half open, as if inviting an unsuspecting visitor. I took a deep breath, clutched my oil lantern, and stepped inside. With my first step, a shiver crawled down my spine. The long corridor before me was dimly illuminated by the flickering flashes of lightning filtering through the cracks, revealing walls coated with layers of dust and mold. As I ventured deeper, the sound began, faint at first, like a distant moan, then clearer. Footsteps. Approaching. I froze, trying to rationalize it. Was it just my imagination? Slowly, I turned around. Nothing. But I was not alone. I pressed forward cautiously and entered a spacious room that housed an old fireplace and tattered rugs. Paintings adorned the walls, their eyes following me. A sudden chill brushed my neck. I spun around, but the room was empty. Then, my lantern flickered and went out, plunging me into absolute darkness. The whispers returned, louder, closer. "Why have you come?" The voice was deep, interwoven with my shaky breaths. I stumbled backward, my foot catching on something. I fell hard onto the floor, my hands grazing over coarse fabric. Desperately, I relit my lantern, and as the dim glow spread, I saw it. A face, decayed, hollow-eyed, its mouth agape in a silent scream, staring at me from the floor. A scream tore from my throat as I scrambled away. But before I could regain my footing, the wooden floor beneath me gave way. I plummeted into a dark void, landing in a freezing basement. Piles of bones surrounded me like a grotesque burial ground. Strange inscriptions in a dark, unrecognizable language covered the walls.